Hey traders, welcome to. Hope everyone's doing well. Happy Thursday, everybody. Great to see you here for Charts and Coffee. We have, let's head on over to the calendar. Scroll on over to today. And in terms of what we're dealing with, gang, I mean, all eyes are really on non-farm. Yes, we had some Bank of England, central bank. Obviously, they're actually going to be holding. They're going to be when the central bank started hiking. The Bank of England was the first. They were the first to go, and I'm not really sure how long they're going to hold at 175. Not that it matters per se in terms of what's happening here with the central bank activity in the U.S., but that hike does matter in terms of those of you and us that are watching the U.S. dollar. The U.S. dollar basket is made up of the euro, the yen, and the pound versus the U.S. dollar. So that's why I say when folks say I'm looking at the dollar, there's really no such thing as looking directly at the dollar. You're looking at the dollar through the lens of its strength or weakness to, in the case of the basket, 6 other currencies. So when I see one of the central banks for one of those 3 main currencies, euro, yen, or pound, I'll be curious how 175, if they stick at 175, obviously it's a half point hike. What is that going to do generally to the US dollar? Well, let's take a quick peek. So if we pull up the US dollar as one of the currencies that are heavily weighted against it, all right, let's see. As one of the currencies that are heavily weighted against it is hiking. Let's pull up dollar index here. Why is it my funny? All right, let's try this again. My trading view is acting up a little bit. Or is it my keyboard? Okay, well, we'll find out in a sec. I can't actually type. Well, that's not good. Okay. No, it's just trading view. All right, anyway, this is where I have my ICE feed. But you know what we can do? We will punt. Traders know how to punt. Let's pull up the 6E, because the 6E is going to have your most direct and negative correlation to the US dollar. Let's go to the intraday chart. And there's your response. 6E moved higher, which is to say the US dollar moved lower. And that's the kind of response we would expect when a heavily weighted currency within the dollar basket has a half point rate hike. So keep that in mind. That's the main thing. And then heading over into Friday, now we're talking. Tomorrow is non-farm. And that means that we have one of our main 3 macroeconomic pillars in play, in this case, jobs. And I don't need to tell you all that that's going to be a volatile morning, and then the echo effect into tomorrow. But we'll talk more about that tomorrow. All right, gang. So let's jump into your questions as always, because that is what this show is all about. And I don't know what's going on with my trading view, but it's just not happy. Okay, let's get that out of the way. All right, so let's get on to it. And it looks like first up, we have, all right, King Blazer. All right, hope I'm having a good morning. You too. I am actually having a good morning. All right, ZB and ZN, sure. So ZB and ZN, and I'm just guessing, although correct me if I'm wrong, we're probably looking at the daily time frame. Gang, until this particular trend, the trend flag label, or the lower row of the JT multi goes green. Right now we have plenty of bullish momentum. So I want to acknowledge that, because if bullish momentum persists, there is the possibility of the trend then organizing, but it hasn't yet. So until that thing goes green over green, there's no buy the dip here for me. And this is potentially an exhaustion area. Is it pretty? No. Have the 8 and 21 exponential moving averages crossed again? They have. Hard to think that this won't organize into an uptrend, but until it does, I will not front run the process. And then if I take a look at the 10-year, really the same story, not quite as bullish, not quite the steady stream of green grab candles, not quite the same crossing of the 8 and 21 exponential moving averages, but still neutral. And again, I will not front run the process, meaning I will not start to presume that an uptrend is coming and start to buy the dip. This is still vulnerable to a little bit more movement lower. That's the way that I'm looking at it, my friend. That's the way that I'm going to view. And it's not that different, by the way, than what's happening on the indices, where on one hand, a lot of bullishness. On the other hand, smack dab into that 200 exponential propulsion, smack dab into the upper area of resistance from the previous highs we had back in late May, early June. We have a Darvis level there. We have 4,200 overhead. While that is a major psychological level and 4,200 is going to have a lot of gravitational pull, I don't see 4,200 turning on the tractor beams just yet. Having a target, now let's keep this in mind because I see a lot of this and it's a terrible habit and it's actually not a trade. Having a target in mind is not a trade. Now I know in Wall Street land, having a target does seem to mask around as a setup. Thinking we're going to 4,200 or 4,300 or 4,400 on the S&P is simply a target. It's not a reason to get in. The reason to get in is what's the pattern, what's the price, maybe you have an indicator confirming that, what is the reason to get in? Not we're going to go to 4,200, let's just buy now kind of thing. And I see a lot of traders doing that where they confuse having a target for having a trade setup. So keep in mind, this is much like the question about bonds where we have a bunch of resistance and we are in a neutral market environment. And until proven otherwise, I have to treat this as an overbought market. I don't have to short it. In fact, I really don't want to short it, but I can if I want. And I just want to keep in mind that, well, maybe there are individual stocks and sectors that are starting to organize into an uptrend. XLK, this is the king of the sectors, gang. There is no more important a sector than the XLK. And that's looking for the first time double green since the beginning of the year. So that's not something that I will take lightly. All right, next up. Hey there, Mark. Real yields in gold seem closer, but gold extended to the upside. Time for a put. Well, structure. Remember the chasm in the real yield, that chasm between the nominal yield of a bond and the rate of inflation is what's going to affect gold. So gold is not right. Gold is not really ever a flight to safety or all those things. As many of you know, if you've been following me for any length of time, you know that there's no flight to safety gold play. It's actually a reflection of real yields. I'm trying to get this 50% thing out of the way. Bear with me, gang. Sometimes I get a little too excited about my halfback Fibonacci's. Let's get that out of the way. Come on already. There we go. All right. What do I want to do with gold? Neutral market. Preceding trend was down. Overbought? Almost. Take a look here. Let me grab my drawing tools and show you. So is it time for a put? I can't rule it out. I cannot rule it out. But take a peek in terms of here, here, and here. This red line, that's your high. That's your resistance. And, that could coordinate pretty well. Right? That's what we're looking for, that kind of confirmation of a price level being reached and then the stochastic. Or if I'm looking at the stochastic, is there a price level being reached? And yeah, that could be interesting. That could be an interesting play. It could. It is neutral, so I can't buy yet. I cannot buy yet. Possibly short. Or, of course, very, very important position to keep in mind for October is flat as a position. This is by and large, gang, it's a sneaky little month. It is, there's no FOMC meeting. And it's probably the lowest volume month generally speaking, or at least the lowest volatility. And the first 2 weeks of August can be brutal. This is summer. This is the concentration of summer because summer really doesn't exist in a Memorial Day to Labor Day window any longer. It really is August and maybe the first 2 weeks of August. So, but I do like that. I do like that. That's a good one to keep in mind. Good stuff, Mark. All right, next up, XHB is double green. It is. We were doing a scan yesterday in our swing trading session in the Sector Secrets Mastery, and had some questions about home construction and home builders. And yes, it's still below the 200, which is something to keep in mind, but it is a double green, and it's got plenty of lit up 21 propulsion. Are there some entries soon? Well, what we want to do with anytime we have, and I'm looking at my notes right now, anytime we have a sector that goes double green, we want to find other stocks that might be going along for the ride. And well, let me show you what I do. BLDR and WSM, I believe, are what come to mind. Yeah. Within that XHB. And then, unfortunately, and I do check the strikes that I would like to trade. So if I'm looking at XHB and maybe a 60 call for 16 September, let's start with 16 September. That one's not too bad. That one's not too bad. We have 1,000 open interest. Might be worth keeping an eye on. 1,000 open interest on those 16 September 60 calls, 1,094 open interest. So that could be, yeah. And there are a number of names that are double green. Williams-Sonoma and Builders come to mind. Yeah, good stuff on the list. We want to have, I've been telling the members, as much as there's so much pessimism out there, I'm not trying to be a contrarian, gang, but crashes and massive sell-offs and whatever hyperbole and clickbait exists out there. By the way, anytime I see crash, I hear clickbait. A crash is a 20% move. We're expecting a 20% move? I don't know, but I haven't seen anything that's crash worthy. And if we're talking about crashes, it is absolutely impossible that we're going to have one. The more we have the pessimistic conversation, and here's why it works. Being a contrarian does not work. However, being someone who observes where the conversations about the market are happening works. Because if we're talking about it, we're discounting it into price. It's being reflected in the bias that's being baked into the cake, so to speak. So that's why crashes never happen when we're expecting a crash to happen, because we've already priced it in. That's the way the markets function. That's where our mind to market functions. So I am trying to encourage myself and our Sector Secrets Mastery members to build a double green watch list and not focus on overbought shorts and crashes and collapses and whatever else I'm seeing on television. Recession, not even an important word anymore because it means nothing anymore, right? I want to focus on where the uptrends are starting to organize. And so, yeah, I love it. I love it, David. All right, next up, what platform do I use for trading futures? Infinity. Why? It's simple. It's stable. Is it the only one? No, we have a number of members that do swing trade via TOS, that swing trade via Tradeovate. We have a number that do swing trade via TradeStation. I mentioned swing trading separate from day trading. Whomever you day trade through, make sure they give you good day trading margin. Infinity day trading margin is quite good. They were recently bought by, I guess, Ninja. I hear a lot of good things about Tradeovate. We have a number of our futures traders with Tradeovate as well. I still use Infinity. So it's a nice little order ticket, compact, non-hoggy platform that I can enter my orders on while tracking the charts on TOS or TradeView. All right. Next up, we take a look at XLE. Absolutely. Not a lot of interesting action on XLE itself. Not really. However, it is overbought, but again, where's my setup? And we've already come down off that high, so not helpful there. But Nancy, you ask an important question because it doesn't mean that just because XLE is, there we go, not looking like a setup doesn't mean that one of the heavily weighted stocks within it may not look interesting. And when it comes to XLE, it's really a conversation about Exxon and Chevron. So then the question is there anything within the XLE? No, I got to pass on it for now. Nancy, thank you for the question, but I've got to pass on it for now. Nothing really catching my eye quite yet. Quite yet. All right, next up, Apple. Sure. Yep, it's a double green. It's on our watch list. And my Sector Secrets Mastery folks, I sent out the notes, our little mastery newsletter, if you will. And we have an alert sent out with the list. We have our notes from yesterday that also include the list of the double greens that we're going to be focusing on for our next set of overnight trend following, preferably long call swing trades. And Apple is on that list. But now I need a pullback, right? So we get the structure, my Cessna pilot. We get the structure. And then after we have our clarity at the structural level, now we can put strategy to work. And strategy is, all right, if we have an upturn, it's buy the dip. Could it be as aggressive as the 8? Could be. I wouldn't rule it out. Maybe the gap close. That would be quite aggressive, somewhere between 159.65 and 157.5, 157.40. Ideally, we get down to about 153.50. So that's really what I'm looking at there. And yeah, good reminder, if you want to trade with me and our crew back at the charts, our Charts and Coffee folks, if you want to join us back at the Mastery, our Sector Secrets Mastery, the mastermind, as I like to call it, you can do so. It's simpler trade. Oh gosh, that's a heck of a URL. Just go to sectorsecrets.com, or you can go to simplertrading.com/join/sector. That's kind of ridiculous. Sectorsecrets.com, and that'll take you to that link. So if you want to come join us, check out what we're doing, see the watch list, get the notes, day trade with us. We're going to be day trading in about 12 minutes. All right, next up, what are your thoughts on booking post earnings? All right. Not much. Not much. Sue, not much. Where are we though? Where are we opening today? Yeah, about 1900. Yeah, not much. It's on a trend. Can't buy the dip. It's very close to being overbought the closer we get to 2000. So it's not as if we can't have a directional preference. It's not as if we can't look at booking and be a bull or a bear. But it doesn't mean that at this point on the chart that I have an opportunity. In all fairness, this chart was overbought and very close to about the 1993, 1990 area, which was a previous Darvis level. So automate those support and resistance levels based on previous highs and lows. It's a different way than most traders do look at support and resistance. Most look at projections. We look at previous highs and lows. What did we do last time we were there? Was there a reaction? Overbought. I mean, the overbought signals in a neutral market have been really quite good. And that's a big key, gang. If you're using an oscillator, right? Anything that just sort of goes across your charts, overbought, oversold, high, low, however you view that back and forth, you must use it in a neutral market. It's going to absolutely increase the accuracy and the usability of what it's designed to do, which is, have we gone too high and have we gone too low? There's no such question to be answered in a trend, but in chop, that's the only question to ask. So before earnings, but I would not play that trade right in front of earnings. But now, yeah, if we can get oversold or maybe overbought again, but nothing I can do with where we are at the moment. All right. Okay. Question about Tesla. Tesla for a short. Again, I'm going to focus on the daily unless otherwise asked. No can do. Tesla just went double green. And yes, it's a vulnerable double green. So there is a chance that the area between 946 and 957, call it 958, that area could very well be overbought. Yep. And we are overbought in stochastics. Very, very, very fresh double green uptrend. We may still, unless that gains some traction, 2-3 days of sessions that are double green, this could be faded. This move could be faded. Or, do what I tell my members in the mastery to do, which is why we're day trading so much every morning, 9:30 or 9:30. We start at 9:20, 9:30 to 10:35. Maybe pull up Tesla and day trade it until you have better clarity as to whether or not you should look for traction to the upside or whether you'd like to focus on the overbought short sell. All right, gang. Thanks as always for your questions. Get them in early. I just go right down the line. And I appreciate the time. I appreciate the questions. Thank you all for being a part of the Caffeinate and Dominate crew. And again, if you want to come join us for day trading, come join me in the futures room. I'm there Tuesdays and Thursdays. And come join me in the Sector Secrets Mastery Monday through Friday for day trading. And we swing trade as well in that room, looking for those alerts, looking for those watch lists a few times a week. All right, gang, be good to each other. I'll talk with you soon.